Chapter 152 Reinstating the Tang Sect's glory. Kids, don't cry. Elder Mu revealed a slight smile on his face. His cheeks also started to glow slightly. He seemed more energized at this point. Teacher. Who are you? Al fell to his knees on the ground and couldn't contain his emotions anymore. He cried until he lost his voice. Wang Dong followed, and the rest of Shrek's 7 monsters as well. Bei Bei was sobbing pitifully. His cries left the others in shock. They all looked very sorrowful. Yan Shaosh and Kai Mai kneeled too. They started to tear up. Great-great-grandfather. Great-great-grandfather. This was obviously a way of addressing a blood-related elder. Father, grandfather, great-grandfather followed by great-great-grandfather. No one really knew that Bei Bei and Elder Mu were related. Elder Mu smiled as he looked at all of them as they kneeled. Silly kids, what's there to wail about? I've already lived in this world for almost 200 years. My lifespan was longer than most. Isn't it a joyous thing that I've lived for so long? I've spent almost my entire life in Shrek Academy. It has always been my greatest pride to watch batch after batch of kids like you mature. I feel younger as I bask in your youthful energy. I'm leaving today, but I hope to leave happily. I can rest in peace seeing the state of Shrek Academy and all of you. Who are you? Al wept even more when he heard Elder Mu's words. He could clearly recall all the advice and guidance that Elder Mu had given to him in the past year. Elder Mu was like a benevolent elder compared to Teacher Fanu. He felt extremely warmed by Elder Mu's kindness. He didn't disappoint Elder Mu either, as he managed to slowly assimilate Elder Mu's self-created secret techniques, and also managed to fuse the Tang Sect's secret techniques with his martial soul. He had developed a stable foundation to become a generational talent, even though his soul power hadn't increased significantly over the past year. Elder Mu said, "I'm about to leave. Little Sun, I've some instructions for you." Elder Sun rushed beside Elder Mu. His disheveled beard started to shake slightly because he was too emotional. Elder Mu sighed. "Little Sun, you're not young either. Don't be so emotional. I'm not leaving entirely yet. Even if I die, I'll still protect Shrek forever. Listen up. Little Sun will succeed my role as the master of the Sea God's Pavilion when I leave. Everything will stay the same under him as it was with me. Yes." All the elders acknowledged his words respectfully. Elder Sun was a little anxious. Elder Mu, Elder Mu waved him off and said, "Although you're impulsive at times, your ability to see the bigger picture and your passion towards Shrek makes you suitable for this role. No one is more suitable in the academy to succeed my role. You've also benefited greatly after following me for so many years. The only instruction that I have for you is that you need to learn how to ponder over things carefully and control your own emotions. Even Dubusi may not be able to beat you with your current abilities. After I leave, I don't think he'll dare to try anything if you're in Sea God's Pavilion." A tiger's aura remained even in the face of death. Elder Mu might be in his last stage of life, but his words were still very dominant and overpowering. Elder Sun was already choking on his tears and couldn't mutter any words. The rest of the elders also agreed with Elder Mu. Indeed, Elder Sun was the next strongest after Elder Mu in Shrek Academy. It was fitting for him to succeed Elder Mu as the master of the Sea God's Pavilion. "Shayosh, Maya, come over." Elder Mu said gently. "Teacher." Yan Shaosh and Kai Mai hurried 2 steps forward before kneeling down beside Elder Mu. Elder Mu said deeply, "Shaosh, I'm the most worried about you. You lack a sense of magnanimity. I'll give you 10 years to change this. After that, proceed to the Sea God's Pavilion first level for deep meditation. If you still can't pass my test, you'll resign from your dean's position." Yan Shaosh shuddered, but didn't dare to rebut. He replied respectfully, "Yes, teacher, Maya." Elder Mu shifted his gaze towards her. "Teacher." Kai Maya was the Martial Soul Department's vice dean. Her authority was considered quite great in Shrek Academy too. However, she was just a little girl in front of Elder Mu. Elder Mu was much gentler towards her. "You have contributed greatly to the academy over all these years. If Shaosh can't pass my test in 10 years' time, you shall enter the Sea God's Pavilion and succeed his role as dean. In addition, Lasun will be promoted to the Martial Soul Department's vice dean and enter the Sea God's Pavilion after I pass on." "Yes, teacher. Don't die." Kai Maya leapt into Elder Mu's chest and started bawling. Elder Mu caressed her head gently and said to Yan Shaosh, "Shaosh, I hope that you'll understand why I'm so strict towards you. 10 years is not long. I hope that you can make good use of this time. Do you understand?" Yan Shaosh seemed to have understood something and looked deeply at Elder Mu. He rubbed the tears from his eyes and maintained a serious look on his face. He replied to Elder Mu seriously, "Teacher, I understand. I won't disappoint you. Shrek won't fall even after you leave." Elder Mu finally smiled. "Good. It seems like you finally got it. Pull Maya to one side. I don't have much time left." Elder Mu still had a lot of things to say before he passed on. Yan Shaosh nodded his head slightly before looking deeply at Elder Mu. He lifted Kai Maya up and brought her to one side. "Liner, Duo, come over." Shen Liner and Chen Duo rushed to kneel beside Elder Mu. Shen Liner was crying as much as Kai Maya and couldn't even speak properly because of it. Elder Mu sighed and said, "Liner, do you know what your greatest flaw is?" Shen Liner sobbed while looking at Elder Mu. Elder Mu said gently, "You are too emotional and direct. If you were a man, I'd let you take Shaosh's position, and I'd be assured to hand over Shrek Academy's greatest responsibilities to you. But as a lady, your flaws are magnified. Your emotional attachments render you unable to improve yourself. Otherwise, your achievements would have superseded Shaosh's and you wouldn't be stuck at the barrier to becoming a transcendent Douluo. I'm assured in passing on the reins of the Soul Tool Department to you and Duo. Both of you are sufficiently open-minded. The speed of the Soul Tool Department's development will depend on both of you. The future of Soul Masters is deeply tied to Soul Tools. I'm unsure of how this path will progress, but I need the both of you to explore and discover its secrets. After I leave, promote Fanu to the Soul Tool Department's vice dean. I hope that the Soul Tool Department will produce a Class 9 Soul Engineer in 10 years' time. In 3 months, it'll be the date that I set with the Hall Master of the Illustrious Virtue Hall. Fanu will lead the group. I believe that the Hall Master of the Illustrious Virtue Hall won't try anything in the open. Let those that he sends over learn according to their abilities. Don't create any barriers for them. Shrek Academy has always been very straightforward. If they're capable enough, they should be given the opportunity to learn. We cannot pull any tricks on them. I believe you and Shaosh will handle this well." Shen Liner only nodded repeatedly. Chen Duo supported her from one side and acknowledged Elder Mu's words respectfully. Elder Mu sighed and said, "This will be my last order as the master of the Sea God's Pavilion." All the elders stepped forward as they heard his words. They kneeled on one knee and Elder Mu's voice resonated through the entire Sea God's Pavilion and even echoed in the Sea God's Island. From today onwards, the Soul Tool Department must be developed at all costs, and the interactions between the Martial Soul Department and the Soul Tool Department must be strengthened. Due to the astronomical costs of running the Soul Tool Department, half of Shrek Academy's profits from its estates in Shrek City will be diverted towards the Soul Tool Department. If the Soul Tool Department can produce a Class 10 Soul Engineer one day, that person will succeed my role as master of the Sea God's Pavilion. Yes, the elders agreed respectfully. Elder Mu looked tired after he finished speaking. He shut his eyes slightly before opening them again. Bei Bei, Hikeitu, Shu Sanchi, Zhang Nanan, Jia Xiao, Hu Yuao, and Wang Dong. "The 7 of you, stand up." The 7 of them stood up, all with tears in their eyes. Hu Yuao's face even had turned pale from his sorrow. He only managed to stand straight with Wang Dong's help. Elder Mu scanned the 7 of them before his attention was drawn to Shu Sanchi, and Zhang Nanan. "I have a request." "What?" Elder Mu's words shocked them. It wasn't very appropriate for Elder Mu to mention the word request with his current status. Furthermore, he was even saying it just before he passed on. Shu Sanchi and Zhang Nanan felt the great pressure. They both kneeled on the ground. Shu Sanchi's voice was trembling a little. "Elder Mu, feel free to instruct us. If we can manage it, we'll do anything to fulfill your request." Elder Mu sighed and said, "This is a personal request. I hope that the 2 of you can join the Tang Sect like the rest of your brothers and sisters." "Join the Tang Sect?" Shu Sanchi was a little stunned as he lifted his head. He hadn't expected Elder Mu to make such a request. Elder Mu replied, 10,000 years ago, the Tang Sect was still very prosperous. Without ancestor Tang San's Tang Sect, we wouldn't have had these past thousands of years of Shrek's glory. The Tang Sector's walk towards collapse as soul tools have developed over the years, and the talents in the sect kept on diminishing. Eventually, it was encroached upon and collapsed. Shrek Academy has always maintained its neutrality in the continent, thus the Academy can't do anything to save the Tang Sect. But it pains me to see the Tang Sect's collapse. Bei Bei found Xiaoya, and he joined the sect because I told him to. After the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament ended, all of you became the new generation of Shrek's 7 monsters. This title and glory will follow you throughout your lives. The first generation of Shrek's 7 monsters were all from the Tang Sect. That's why I hope this continues. Shrek is ultimately an academy, and can't intervene in the continent's matters unless unless a critical situation pops up. But if all of you belong to one sect, you won't be restricted. I hope that the Tang Sect can rise and be as powerful as it was tens of thousands of years ago. I believe that all of you are not inferior to the first generation of Shrek's 7 monsters in terms of talent. Perhaps you may be restricted because you were born into a sect, but I still hope that you can join the Tang Sect with Jiang Nanan. If the 7 of you work together and develop the Tang Sect, you can make it as influential as the body sect. Elder Mu's breathing quickened as he spoke those words. His cheeks became redder too. His eyes were filled with hope as he looked at Shu Sanchi and Jiang Nanan. He was waiting for their answers. I'm willing. Jiang Nanan spoke first. Her teary eyes revealed a resolute look. Elder Mu, please rest assured. I'm willing to join the Tang Sect. If I'm not remembering wrongly, Ancestor Xiaowu from the first generation of Shrek's 7 monsters had the same martial soul as me. I will work hard to follow in her footsteps and help the Tang Sect regain its former glory. Bei Bei heaved a sigh of relief as he heard Jiang Nanan's words. That was because Shu Sanchi had once mentioned that he would join the Tang Sect if Jiang Nanan was willing. Jiang Nanan had finally agreed. However, where was Tanya? It was undeniable that he had tried to get close to Tanya at the most difficult period of her life, and joined the Tang Sect under Elder Mu's instruction. However, he had fallen in love with her after interacting with her all these years. But Tanya had disappeared at this most critical period. He had heard nothing from her over the past year. I'm willing too, Shu Sanchi agreed. He looked at Jiang Nanan and said, Elder Mu, I'm willing to join the Tang Sect and break my ties with my family sect. We'll work hard together to reinstate the Tang Sect. Elder Mu smiled and waved his right hand gently, and a soft force lifted them off the ground. Good. This is good. I'm finally doing something for the Tang Sect on behalf of Shrek Academy. I will be watching all of you from above and waiting for the day all of you succeed. Bei Bei, come over. Bei Bei rushed up beside Elder Mu and lowered his head. He greeted, great-great-grandfather. Elder Mu said, you're the only successor from my lineage. Your parents died young as they were carrying out their duties as Shrek guardians. I was very hurt by that incident. I can see you carrying on the light-type bloodline. Although your martial soul only has the partial mutation, abilities of the Radiant Holy Dragon, our bloodline was inherited from the Blue Lightning Pirate Dragon's family successor, Wu Zhougang. He was also Shrek Academy's notable grandmaster. Even after thousands of years, the Blue Lightning Pirate Dragon's bloodline hasn't changed. Even if our surnames have, your martial soul is partly mutated. It's not a bad thing. I'm about to leave, so I'll help you to stabilize the Radiant Holy Dragon's bloodline. From today onwards, you need to do your best to become stronger and continue to walk this path of the Blue Lightning Pirate Dragon. Elder Mu's thin and frail right hand gently caressed Bei Bei's head as he spoke. Suddenly, the entire Sea God's pavilion lit up, and an intense golden light flashed once before disappearing. Bei Bei groaned and collapsed on the ground. A bolt of golden electricity flashed repeatedly around him, and his entire body shone subtly with the golden light. This was the strength of an ultimate Douluo. Even as he reached his life's end, he was still able to maneuver his powers and those of the golden tree. He managed to stabilize Bei Bei's bloodline in a split second. Bei Bei's martial soul mutation was stabilized completely just like that. Just as Elder Mu had said, it had been advanced to a Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. The color on Elder Mu's cheeks faded and turned completely pale. He wanted to lift his hands, but seemed to be completely out of strength. His voice had also become weaker. Yuao, Langdong, come over. Yuao leapt up beside Elder Mu when he finally heard that it was his turn. He gripped onto Elder Mu's right hand, stuttering, teacher. Elder Mu struggled to open his eyes and smiled. Kid, don't be sad. I've accepted quite a few disciples in my life, but accepting you at this stage of my life is the proudest thing I've ever done. Your ultimate ice may cultivate at a slower speed than others, but don't be disheartened or impatient. You'll only become consumed if you rush to achieve success. You're working hard enough at your cultivation already. You need to relax when it's time to do so. You'll proceed to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy to learn in 3 months' time. The next 3 years will be very important for you. They will concern the success of Shrek Academy's Soul Tool department. Remember not to use your Eye of Destiny during that period of time, unless your life is under threat. Yuao was completely speechless now. His teardrops fell onto Elder Mu's palm one by one. Elder Mu forced a smile. I've basically imparted all my experience and research to you. You must assimilate it. You're Shrek Academy and the Tang Sect's future hope. You need to aid Bei Bei and Tanya in the future in reinstating the Tang Sect's glory. I practiced a divination on Tanya before. While she'll meet with a huge crisis, a benefactor will help her. I can confirm that she's alive. You must help Bei Bei find her. In addition, I need to warn you that the Douluo Continent cannot be ruled by a different empire. You must work hard to prevent the rise of the Sun Moon Empire. This is my last hope. Once your cultivation reaches 9 rings and you become a titled Douluo, I hope that you can become the master of the Sea God's Pavilion. Yes, teacher. I promise you anything. Rest first. Yuao finally managed to string a sentence together. Elder Mu shook his head slightly. Fool, you're a fool. How can you not see it? I won't really die. I will always be here to watch all of you grow, and watch as Shrek's legacy is passed down. Forever. The Academy will face a few crises in the near future. The responsibility on you is greater than anyone else. The ultimate soldier plan must continue. The Academy has imparted everything that's needed to be imparted to you. We'll need you to continue to work hard and discover the future of this extreme path. There's no end to this path. Yes. Yuao gripped onto Elder Mu's hands tightly. He could clearly feel that Elder Mu was reaching the end of his life now, and could pass on at any time. Elder Mu struggled to turn his attention towards Wang Dong. His voice also became weaker. Wang Dong, do you think that I've always been very biased? Wang Dong was in a daze. He wiped the tears in his eyes. He didn't lie, and nodded his head gently. Elder Mu smiled and said, that's because I can't completely see through you. I can't see what you've experienced, or what your future will be like. Maybe your talent is not much inferior to Yuao's, but I can sense an aura from you that makes me shudder every time I try to see through you. I can confirm that you're human, and not a soul beast. However, your secret is bound to be. Elder Mu's breathing became faster as he spoke till here. He struggled to say, I've settled the matter between you and Yuao. You will cultivate in the inner courtyard for these few years and wait for him to return. Shrek's ancestors, Yuan is coming. Elder Mu increased the volume of his last words. An intense golden light also suddenly shot out from his body. Yuao and Wang Dong were instantly separated. Elder Mu's body rose from his reclining chair. A magical scene appeared. 2 yellow, 1 purple, 3 black and 3 red soul rings appeared on his body. A sonorous dragon's roar resonated in the air. The entirety of Sea God's pavilion turned bright golden, and a huge golden beam of light shot up into the sky from it. All of Shrek Academy, and even Shrek City, was shrouded in golden light. Elder Mu's bent back started to become straighter as he was soaked in the golden light. His frail-looking face also became younger. Even his thin and sickly body started to gain weight. There was a look of hope and reluctance in his gaze. Elder Mu looked at everyone in front of him quietly. He lifted his right hand and gently waved. His gaze eventually landed on Yuao. No further sound was made, and he only gazed on his last disciple benevolently. The golden light became stronger and stronger, while Elder Mu became younger and younger. He slowly turned from his original frail self into a young man. The younger appearance of Elder Mu bore a shocking resemblance with Bei Bei, but also had a more cheerful disposition. Elder Mu's body gradually turned gold, as golden dragon scales started to grow from underneath the skin from head to toe. Elder Mu lifted his limbs. The intense golden light turned scarlet gold before turning an orange gold, yellowish gold, greenish gold, bluish gold and purplish gold. The final purplish gold eventually turned whitish gold. Elder Mu laughed, and a sonorous dragon roar was let loose. His body shook, and he turned into a white dragon that exuded an intense light before disappearing from within the pavilion. Even from afar, a huge white dragon could be seen in the skies above Shrek Academy. The bright glare of the sun seemed to be blotted out by the golden light. The sonorous dragon roar kept on resonating in the sky. The intense golden light made it seem as if it was swimming in a golden ocean. The frightening aura spread outwards, whereas the golden light shot straight down and covered the entire Sea God's pavilion. All living beings on the Sea God's island were covered in a dim layer of golden fog. They could feel the pure light power cleansing their bodies, removing the impurities within. Their soul powers were compressed and their cultivation was boosted. Yan Shaoxi's voice resonated throughout the entire Sea God's pavilion. Everyone, sit cross-legged and meditate. Even though he was sobbing, he still sounded very demanding at this point. This was the last present that Elder Mu was giving the academy. Everyone quickly sat cross-legged and circulated their soul power, basking in the extreme light aura. The except to this was Yuao, who rushed out of the Sea God's pavilion and looked towards the huge white dragon in the sky. Far from being shocked at its appearance, Yuao was saddened. Teacher. Teacher, he shouted into the air. However, his voice didn't echo, and it quick disappeared as it left his mouth. The huge white dragon seemed to have seen him from the sky too. Then its huge body wriggled as it looked southwards, towards the great Stardow forest. Another sonorous dragon roar came out. The frightening dragon's aura crushed and dissipated all the clouds within the nearest thousands of square miles. In the inner great Stardow forest, the region of savage beasts, the Forbidden Grounds. It was the center of the Forbidden Grounds, where the strongest soul beast slowly lifted its head, looking at the north seriously. An aura of concentrated darkness rose up and diffused into the air before converting into a dragon form. The roar of another dragon sounded, but it disappeared instantly. The aura of darkness then dispersed to cover the entire Forbidden Grounds, completely blocking out the dragon roar from the radiant holy dragon. A figure stayed silently in the center of the Forbidden Grounds. It was a man who kneeled on a single knee. His long, golden hair flowed behind his back, and his figure more than 3 meters tall. His charming and resolute-looking face bore an indescribable sense of dominance, and although he was kneeling, not a single soul beast could be found in the vicinity. Boss, you finally awoken. The golden-haired man said respectfully. An illusory voice sounded. Tian, I've only temporarily ended my sleep because of this radiant holy dragon's aura. I've not truly ended my sleep yet. Remember not to provoke Shrek Academy while I'm asleep. Tian. Was he the powerful presence that approached Elderson when he caught the Emperor Beast? He was in his human form right now. Boss, he is threatening us. Don't tell me that we're afraid of him. Tian's expression was filled with determination, and a dominant aura spread while golden light shot out. Not at all. An ultimate Douluo can't make the entirety of the great Stardow forest fearful. But the important thing is that Shrek Academy can connect with that place. Remember my words. My cultivation is at a critical juncture. I will awake again in 10,000 years. At that time, the humans' rule will be over. Yes. The Sky Emperor replied respectfully. However, an ecstatic look flashed across his eyes, and he thought to himself, 10,000 years is too long. We need to grab hold of time now. The aura of darkness slowly faded away, and everything returned to normal. The Sky Emperor stood up and coldly looked in Shrek Academy's direction. His golden aura soon also disappeared. The radiant holy dragon nodded towards the south, then reluctantly looked down at Huo Yua down below, slightly touched. By this point, the entire Sea God's Island was bathed in gold. It happened without a sound. The huge white dragon dissipated into spots of golden light across the sky, which swiftly descended. Elder Mew's voice rang in Huo Yua's ears. Kid, let me give you one last gift. He only saw a patch of gold in front of him before he fainted from the extreme sorrow, and a wave of heat rushed into Huo Yua's body. The countless spots of golden light gathered towards Sea God's pavilion. A huge golden light projection gradually made its entrance, almost like it was stretching down. The golden projection was a bright tree. It grew almost 100 meters tall as it stretched outwards. Its branches extended and instantaneously engulfed the Sea God's Island in golden light. The illusion of a white dragon above it disappeared. The light aura dissipated, and finally, the projection of the tree shrunk slowly before disappearing into the Sea God's pavilion. Everything seemed to return to normal, but this normality was missing something. The Hallmaster of the Sea God's pavilion, the ultimate Douluo, the dragon god Douluo, the strongest person in all of Shrek Academy, and the radiant holy dragon, Elder Mew. Elder Mew had passed on. Shrek's pillar had collapsed. On Sea God's Island, the sorrowful cries and aura remained. When Huo Yua regained consciousness, he found himself in his room on the Sea God's Island, which Elder Mew had granted to him. He also gave one to Wang Dong, who was curled up beside him sleeping soundly, but with 2 strings of tears still on his face. Huo Yua's body jerked a little, and his memory gradually recovered. His tears also started to flow. Teacher has left. Teacher has left in such a shocking way. Teacher. Huo Yua's sobbing woke up Wang Dong. He lifted his head to look at him. The two of them started to cry loudly together. After crying for 15 minutes, the two of them slowly calmed down. Huo Yua jumped off the bed. How did Teacher pass? In the end, Wang Dong lowered his head and said, Teacher turned into light energy infused with the golden tree. He hasn't died. Just like he said before, he'll always be watching over us. His powers have already become a part of the golden tree. Huo Yua nodded his head forcefully. He said resolutely, yes, Teacher isn't dead yet. He won't die. He's still alive. He just changed his body. Huo Yua hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed 3 times. Teacher, I won't disappoint you. Shrek Academy is my home, and it'll always be my home. For Shrek Academy, and for the Tang Sect, I will give my all. Huo Yua stood up suddenly after he finished speaking. He pulled Wang Dong's hand and said, Wang Dong, let's start cultivating. We can't disappoint Teacher. Wang Dong could clearly sense that something was wrong with Huo Yua, but how could he agitate him any further at this point? He understood the importance of kinship in Huo Yua's mind through his knowledge of Huo Yua's background, and he wished to lessen the sorrow filling Huo Yua's heart. Wang Dong nodded and sat on the bed with Huo Yua. Their Hadong power surged and started to flow in their bodies. However, Huo Yua started to cry just as they started. He couldn't help but open his eyes. Teacher, he couldn't help it, because he could feel his soul power had reached the rank 40 bottleneck. He recalled what Elder Mew had said before he passed out. Yes. This was Elder Mew's last gift for him. He would have needed 3 months to half a year to reach rank 40 with his cultivation speed, but now, he managed to reach rank 40 instantly with Elder Mew's help. Wang Dong naturally felt the changes in Huo Yua's body. He said, Yuao, you need to cheer up. Teacher is watching us now. You don't want him to be disappointed, so let's start cultivating. He was really worried that Huo Yua would have an emotional breakdown. The Hadong power entered Huo Yua's body as guided by Wang Dong before it circulating slowly. Huo Yua didn't say anything. He continued to cultivate along with Wang Dong. Their soul powers undulated and flowed along their passageways. Huo Yua seemed to go mad over the next 3 months. However, this madness was only shown in his cultivation. Within these 3 months, he focused all his energy on increasing his abilities. He didn't even bother to obtain his 4th soul ring. He was either meditating, practicing soul tool creation, training his soul skills, or using the Tang Sect secret techniques every day, sometimes doing all of these things. He didn't speak much in a day, as if speaking would only delay him. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.